Why gay men need to invest in our own future. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I put future as singular. I didn't say our own futures, because I think that we do have a future together as gay men. You see, in the 1990s, growing up in Seattle, there were all sorts of nonprofit organizations dedicated to helping not just LGBTQIA++ type people and convincing them all to be intersectional feminists like there obviously are today, but organizations dedicated to focusing on the physical, social, and mental health of gay men and the gay male community. Aside from the various AIDS-related charities like the Chicken Soup Brigade, there were also at least one or two organizations that put together non-alcoholic social functions designed to be for gay males, and I actually went to a few of them, being that I was a teenager anyway and couldn't go to the gay bars. They were pretty fun, really. At one, we played adult board games like Pictionary and Taboo, and at another, we ran around some church in the dark playing some sort of murder mystery type thing that I actually ended up being the person who solved. At the time, I mainly just craved social interaction of any type with other gay males. And while I definitely wished I could have gotten into gay bars at the time, I thought it was cool that there were activities for guys who didn't thrive in environments with loud thumping music or who don't drink for whatever reason. And these things seem even more cool to me to think about today, even though they don't really exist, as I actually gave up drinking almost entirely about 9 months ago for some number of months and now only drink once every 3 or 4 weeks, due, if nothing else, to my obsessive competitive Overwatch habit. Regardless, while I do have a podcast channel that I do with 3 or 4 other gay or bisexual guys every Friday, I definitely wish on occasion that I had a few more easily accessible ways to access the gay male community outside of drinking with them, but unfortunately, I just don't think anything like that exists anymore. As far as I know, though I could be wrong, all of the community building organizations based in Seattle for LGBT people have become thoroughly assimilated into the intersectional feminist worldview. And I don't imagine them doing anything designed to be explicitly for gay men. Transgender people's voices are amplified endlessly, and of course, people of color are tokenized readily in the Seattle queer scene. Hell, I even went to a queer comedy night at a formerly gay organization, and probably more than half of the jokes were about how white men are horrible. I've actually been meaning to make an entire video about that, so remind me. That all said, I want to ask gay men a fairly simple question. If you don't take care of yourselves and each other, who the hell will? I'm not a Trump catastrophizer by any means, and honestly, I was super relieved when Clinton didn't win. But regardless, I have zero faith in the Republican Party doing anything super great for gay guys, though I'm open to being surprised. More so, at this point in time, we have had the Democratic Party demonstrate to us in such crystal clear and glaring detail that they only care about our votes, our money, and that we don't get in the way of their narratives, so we would be absolute fools to ever really trust this party again, if the party even survives in its current form. You see, the Democrats picked us up as an easy voting bloc during the Clinton years when they decided to use their philanthropic, nurturing image in order to let America know that they cared about all the sick and dying Americans, including Pedro Zamora, who was on MTV's The Real World, that Bill Clinton himself shouted out after he finally died.
The mission of Pedro Zamora's all too brief life was to raise awareness about HIV and AIDS. Pedro changed the face of HIV and AIDS in America forever. When for the first time on national TV, Pedro appeared on The Real World, and young America saw a peer living with HIV. Pedro shattered myths. He jolted our country awake from ignorance and inaction. And his message now is as urgent as ever. AIDS infections are on the rise in America. There are more than 1 million Americans living with the HIV virus, and 1 in 5 doesn't even know he or she has it. And there is still very much we need to do abroad to turn the tide as well. In developing countries around the world, many organizations, including mine, work hard to expand access to treatment and care for the 33 million people living with HIV. But again, let me say we can't ignore the continued needs here at home. HIV is 100% treatable and, more importantly, 100% preventable. Our actions, our concern, our advocacy will shape the future of the epidemic. And Pedro inspires and empowers us all to make the right choices today, just as he did when he was with us. I'm really glad I got to know Pedro Zamora. I'm grateful that his rich and fulfilling work is still remembered today. And I hope you enjoy and learn from Pedro.
Ever since then, we've been assumed to be loyal to the Democratic Party, which is why we were told basically during the 2016 election campaign with all of the blogs about alleged gay male misogyny, you better vote for Hillary Clinton or else we'll do what we did to the straight men to you. We were a means to their end, and they still assume that they have our support even after they ran out of promises of gay marriage, and most of us are still letting them get away with it and doing basically nothing to help our own community and demographic. Now, I am not asking that everybody else start protesting the Democrats or do their best to expose the feminist infiltration and potential corruption that has happened in the gay male community because, hey, let me tell you, it's super tedious and you might put me out of the job. But what I am reminding gay men of is that in the end, you aren't going to be able to rely on anybody long term besides other gay men. Certainly not the Democrats. Everybody else that you know in your life is gonna have kids, start their own family, and thus alienate themselves from you naturally, as you have little in common when they're raising their kids. Or they will just be female homosexuals or trans people that ultimately you never really had all that much in common with anyway. Sure, some gay men will adopt kids, and if you're amazingly good at parenting and happen to be a gay man that wants to raise kids that are currently in foster care, then you should be able to do that in order to get the kids out of the system and make you happy because from what I understand, kids don't like being in the system anyway. However, I simply don't think that the vast majority of gay men are ever going to have kids. Instead, we are going to be left to age by ourselves, hopefully with partners, and if we are lucky and we start working for this, we can very hopefully age with a community of younger gay men who respect and look up to their elders in the way that I tended to when I was younger. You see, I'm not just talking about this while imagining some vision of gay socialization that I've never seen nor lived. Rather, when I was in my early 20s and I was a semi-cute young thing, I realized somewhere along the way that if I was ever in a crowd full of gay men and making small talk was awkward with my peers for whatever reason, it was always worthwhile to go talk to the oldest guy around. Why? Well, it wasn't just because he was lonely and eager to have a pleasant conversation with one of the okay-looking younger guys. Rather, it was because he had decades of experience as a gay man. And I could always learn things from him that I generally couldn't learn from any books or movies. Honestly, when it comes to properly maturing, gay men really do need their elders. I know I sure did. And, in the end, our elders usually need us to take care of them, if we can. What is going to happen when these guys start getting super old and can't take care of themselves? I've had to take care of elderly family members before. What happens when guys who don't have families get old? That all said, well, in my mid-30s, I'm at the first moment of my life where I'm starting to really consider what it's going to be like to get old. If I do get old, which I think maybe I will now. Sure, I'm still young by plenty of people's standards, but I also find myself with a wealth of knowledge and experience that I can readily offer to younger guys. I can offer this information to younger people in general, but what I have that is most useful, which I will never tire of talking about, is gay males. I am Prince of Queens, of course, and what I offer can best be utilized to benefit other gay men to keep all of us collectively happy and healthy. And so, when I say that we should invest in our futures, what do we invest in? Well, we invest in organizations that prioritize males and not ones that say they prioritize everybody, including males, by trying to get males to be feminists. Any organization that sings that song should probably not receive your money if you care about males, because feminists actively screw over males. Sorry, that's just what happens. In order for our organizations to function and serve us, we need them to have zero influence from women in terms of their top-down organizing. Women cannot help us be better gay men. Period. More so, we need to invest in creating positive social environments for younger guys to interact in, so that they aren't tempted to start whoring themselves out on Grindr or going to wherever the hell else young guys meet each other. I don't know, drinking too much like I did, whatever. The way I see it, if we could not just tell gay guys, but show gay guys that there's more to socializing than hookups, our demographic would be a lot happier. Younger gay guys cannot be taught what they need to know in order to be happy by straight people, and they certainly cannot be taught by feminists. So it's up to us as gay men, like it or not, even if you aren't really all that old. You very well might end up being forced to tell younger guys things like, well, I don't know a lot, but I know this, and that's fine. Nobody knows everything. Finally, to the younger gay males, you need to invest in your elders. You need to take the time to talk to the older guys you come across when you get the chance, at least on occasion, because despite what you might believe, most of them aren't going to try to have sex with you, at least most of the time. Maybe they just want to chat sometimes. If you come across a 60-year-old gay man in a smoking area of a bar that just chills out there fully clothed, chances are that's simply where he likes to hang out. He's probably a regular at the bar. So maybe strike up a conversation and you might learn a few things. Foster the connection so that it's there. And then we'll start using our heads of all ages to start to try to build something positive for our communities and greater demographic. That's all I have to say for this video. If you felt it was a positive message, I always take donations.